the willingness of the Ukrainians to compromise on any sort of notion of land for peace has gone down. That is, that 85% of Ukrainians still support taking all of their territory back and no concessions.
It's now time to invite you into our daily briefing room, where one of our leading tactical and strategic minds with years of experience as a general officer at the highest level of military command shares their insights into the current state of the war in Ukraine. Joining us today is Major General Chip Chapman, a former senior British military advisor. Chip, welcome to the show.
Good evening, Aisha, and belated Happy New Year to you.
Yes, a very belated Happy New Year to you. So we've just coming back after the Christmas period. Many people might have kind of slightly zoned out of the news for the last couple of, week or so. What is the latest on the situation from the conflict, Chip?
Well, obviously, there was no Christmas period really for Ukraine, and the key thing, in a way, was the tempo of missile strikes against the energy infrastructure has increased over the last few days. And this isn't what we would call dynamic targeting. This is deliberate targeting. And the purpose of this is really to destroy the life support of the Ukrainians. It's not just to knock out the electricity chambers and things. It's all the things that go with it, the sewage and the water treatment. And that creates potentially destabilizing waves of refugees and grinds the functioning of government to a halt. It's those secondary effects which Russia are after. But it doesn't look like they're destroying the will of the Ukrainians. And again, there was a poll taken over the period of 4 to 27th of December by the Kiev International Institute of Sociology, which shows that the willingness of the Ukrainians to compromise on any sort of notion of land for peace has gone down. That is, that 85% of Ukrainians still support taking all of their territory back and no concessions. And even in those areas where there is Russian speakers only, there's still a huge majority for that. That's 76%. So that gives a lie to this notion of Russia that there's such a thing as Ruskaya Mir, the notion that Russian-speaking peoples were all part of the Russian-speaking world. So that's the sort of main thing. And the tactical battles, not a lot is going on, in the sense that the main grinding action at Bakhmut, the frequency of the attacks has gone down since mid-December, and the size of the attacks also seems to have gone down. So the MOD intelligence today said that they're at platoon or section level. Now, for those unfamiliar, that's sort of between 8 and 30 men. So this is not large-scale stuff. On the Ukrainian side, they're trying to open the way to a place called Crimea, and that would be significant if they were to be successful there and cut the highway, because that gives where the north-south logistics are to through the Donbass, so through Donetsk and Luhansk. So I think we're still going to be in for a long haul. It's a kaleidoscopic war. That is, you look through your kaleidoscope and you turn the end. There's many multiple patterns and variations that you can see. And analysts like me are always looking for patterns and then trends, but even those can alter. So this is still a very complex business at the moment, with no certain end, certainly in the near future.
And of course, President Zelensky made an extraordinary trip to America. He went to Washington, D.C. It's interesting to hear your analysis about the high levels of support from within the Ukrainian public. Where do you think the international community is on Ukraine? Because it did look like there was a bit of wavering in American politics.
Well, I think that's always at the fringes. It's at the fringes of both the Democratic Party and in the sort of mega Republicans in the Republican Party. The key thing really in this visit is that $45 billion of aid was forthcoming. And that, in terms of the military aid, the humanitarian aid and economic aid to the Ukrainians, should sustain them at least until the next financial year of America, which is September. That's a different financial year than us. But the burn rate of munitions is such that could be brought forward to May. So we've got to keep supporting them. And 29th of December, Ben Wallace, our defense secretary, announced that there'll be another $2.3 billion pounds of British aid to the military aid to the Ukrainians. And there was also, I think, what was really significant, the sort of sometimes we see sort of Macron in France and Scholz in Germany as waverers, and both their New Year's messages were very, very hard over on supporting the Ukrainians till victory. So as long as the Ukrainians have this international support, the military support, and the humanitarian support, they still have a good chance of victory. But war is a very complex business, and to make linear predictions of what will happen is really to look at the difference between forecasting what's going to happen tomorrow and nowcasting what's going to happen in the next 6 months. And those are entirely different functions.
Well, Chip, it's always great to get your insight and your expertise. Thanks very much for that update on the situation in Ukraine. That's Major General Chip Chapman, a former senior British military advisor.